Welcome to Life Will Be. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco, and it has taken me so many attempts to get on camera and press record. You're probably wondering, like, Lydia, you've done this for a while. But full transparency, I am doing a new thing. I've rebranded my podcast, formerly known as the Get My Life Tour, and the new name is Life Will Be. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been with me since 2019, thank you for your listenership, your loyalty, and for really rocking with me over the years. As some of you may know, for the last 2 years, I have been on a creative pause, and I have really been coming to terms with who I am, practicing radical acceptance, and just living my life, honestly. And as I talk about coming to terms with who I am and who I've been called to be, a part of that has been me coming to the realization that life will be, hence the new name of this podcast. I cannot tell you everything that has taken place over the last 2 years out of respect for myself, the process, okay, my relationship with the Most High and others. But I do want to share what I've been up to because I can do that. And you're probably like, girl, that's the least you can do. It is. It really is. And so I've taken some notes on my computer, on my phone. I got some water. And I am like, okay, Lydia, get into it. You're probably wondering, where did I come up with like this thought of coming to terms with who I am? 2 years later, podcast aside, life, so much has transpired. And I have been very adamant about becoming my own woman. Arguably, I've been my own person since I've been alive. Hello, somebody. But it is so important for me to take my spirituality, my faith, my womanhood, my femininity, and the culmination of all of who I am so seriously. And a big part of that is my maturation process. And with that comes radical acceptance. I have had so many different partners in the form of coaches. Well, actually, just got my first coach, so I should say therapists, and just different partners, be it spiritually, financially, um, mentally, all the things, because I've really wanted to invest in who I am, who I'm becoming, who I have learned to forgive, and parts of myself that I'm still forgiving and grappling with and learning. And so it has been a beautiful process. And so I don't think of coming to terms as a negative thing, right? But contractually, who are you at your core? Who is it that you say you are? Who is it that you present yourself to the world as? And come to terms with that, right? Living authentically, knowing who you are by name, by character, by action, by the promises you keep to yourself. Coming to terms with that. And so there's this song. I am about to start cracking up, and I'm trying not to laugh so loudly in your ears. But there's this witty song from church. Some of you may know it. Some of you may be like, oh my gosh, here she goes. I'm like, there she go. Okay, now look at me. Let's mix in two things, okay? Salt and water, salt and water. Anyways. But the song is, I signed the contract with Jesus many, many years ago. I signed the contract with Jesus. I can't remember the tone, okay? But the basis of the song is like, there is this contract that you have with your creator, okay? The one who saved your life. For me, that's Jesus. And when I think about what I just said about who you are contractually, right? I'm brought back to that song. I'm also brought back to my life's motto and what has been the motto for this show and this work over the last 6 years. And that's how you live your life is your business. I am signing the contract with myself, with the Most High daily. And I mentioned before acting like it, but really holding fast to that, trusting that, believing that, standing in it and on it as it relates to my values and how I show up in this world. And most importantly, how I show up for myself. And so I say all of that, but it ain't easy. Okay. You heard me mention the coach, the therapist, all the people who have been instrumental in partnership to get to this very moment. Truly. The last 2 years at some points, has felt dizzying, but being in relationship with my family, friends, loved ones has really grounded me. So has that radical acceptance of self, even when some parts of myself felt unrecognizable, uncomfortable, and just like, oh my gosh, is this really me? Like, I don't give myself the ick, but there are times in life when you realize, oh my gosh, some things have to change because it has to. You feel me? And so I took some notes. Okay, so let me unlock the phone. One of the things that I've really been practicing is forgiveness. Forgiveness of self, forgiveness of loved ones, and asking for some of my memories to be healed and doing the work that is required so that as I show up spaces as this 30-something-year-old woman, when little Lydia comes around, okay, and she's on my heels, okay, that she's not showing up as a hurt little girl. Now, I've had great lived experiences, and I thank God for making it through. But there have been some times where I'm like, oh man, I think I know where that comes from. Oh, or little Lydia is getting the best of me. Have y'all seen that show, Unprisoned? Have you seen the show Unprisoned? I'm not going to go on a tangent about Black sitcoms being canceled, but there was a show called Unprisoned with Kerry Washington, Delroy Lindo, and a couple of other really great supporting actors and actresses. And there was this huge element of the show where people's younger self showed up. And a lot of times while they were working through their stuff in therapy and relationship and conversation, they realized that the unhealed version of their younger self was showing up. And so I'm always brought back to that because they did such a brilliant job at writing and depicting and bringing those realities that so many of us live with to the big screen. And so when I talk about little Lydia being on my heels, sometimes I'm like, hey, girl, hold on, have a seat. You got to talk to her, okay? Sometimes it's just like, we're not there anymore. You are safe. This person is not this person is not that. Remember, in all the pauses you have to take after reminding yourself where you are, sometimes it requires just pinching yourself a little bit, okay? And checking in and taking that deep breath. And so, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of self. I've made a lot of decisions over my lifetime. And I'm grateful for the sound decisions. And I have been practicing self forgiveness for the decisions that I've made out of desperation, because of a scarcity mindset, thinking I didn't have options based on my understanding of my self-worth. Y'all, it's deep, right? And it's not all bad. It's real though. You got to be doing your work, okay? You have to be doing your work. Now, I mentioned some of the people who I've partnered with, but I think that's a part of putting things into practice, life into practice, and coming to terms with who you are. Having someone who can partner with you to introduce you to new ways of thinking and being through tools, resources, exercises, and activities, right? And just that honesty, the opportunity to sit with someone else, but really sit with yourself is so important. I am forever, forever raving, okay, about my therapist and thinking about ways that I can be better. And also just really being grateful for like benefits, okay? Like the benefits to be able to take care of myself, to be able to afford therapy, to be able to talk to someone and know how to search and use the internet, okay? I know people are like, wait, what if I can't afford that resource? Go to church, talk to God the same way you talk to yourself. I'm over here reaching for tissues, y'all, because the allergies, though, oh my gosh, are very real. So don't judge me for wiping my nose. Okay. I even gave y'all a little sniffle. Hello, somebody. Okay, back to the topic at hand. But it's so important to be practicing self forgiveness, to find different ways to put that into practice, and to really do it daily. You know, I've also been on this like creative tip over the last 2 years. The year before last, I really leaned into my love for learning and interior design and decoration as well, because I know there are levels to it. And people on the internet, y'all like to, you know what I mean? So let me be all encompassing. So I took a course online. You better go learn you something on the internet. Hello, while it's still free. Oh, okay. No theories. Great. But seriously, I leaned into my love for interior design about 12, 13 years ago. Even prior to that, I've always loved putting things together. And that has been extremely important to me as I think about how I keep space, how I make places feel like home when I'm on the move, when I'm thinking about my next step in life. And so I said, Lydia, hello, get enrolled into an online course. And so I did. And for, I want to say 4 to 6 months, maybe 4 months, I was online weekly. I can't even say daily because I can't remember. But there were some points where I was extremely excited. Um, and I was just leaning into the momentum of learning about different textiles and window insulation and color palettes and flooring, all these things that really helped grounded me. And I think that is something that I'm always going to be like on fire for. And so, yeah, I've been learning. I've also taken a really cool class. I have truly been investing in my interests, my passions, and my next pivot. More to come. But I took a class, I drove to Maryland, and I was a part of this 3-day immersive hands-on experience. It was just me and one other person in the class, and we was locked in, okay? We had a field trip. We did lunch together. I was knocking down walls, patching them up, painting, cutting wood. Your girl was on the drill, okay? Was I afraid? Yes. Okay, I had to get used to the roar of the machine, but I did it. And I was so proud of myself. I got a hotel room. Like it was a thing. I also got a little sick, which was like somewhat of a little thrill. I ate too much fast food because I was on the go and I'm so used to cooking my food that I literally had a moment where I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish class. TMI, okay, keep it cute, Lydia. Let's just go back to dabbing my nose. So, all of that, right? I'm sharing this because life will be, and life will continue to go on. Time will pass. And I'll never forget this statement that a professor or a teacher in high school had over their clock. Mr. Hutchins or Mr. Hutchinson, Burton High School. God bless his soul. But he had this phrase printed over in some like old school Microsoft Word font, and it said, "Time will pass. Will you?" And as time has passed, my question to myself is like, are you living? And so leaning into my creativity, investing in different classes and hands-on experiences has really kept me alive. When that drill was going, I felt so alive, knocking down walls, putting plaster up. It was so funny. I was telling a friend about the class. He was like, "Oh, you don't know the man." And I'm like, "Who said that? That's crazy." I enjoy sharpening my skills, my tools, quite literally, and adding that to like the full package, right? And so lean in to investing in your mind, body, spirit, and what you enjoy creatively. Each thing that I am truly interested in, and it is going to really help me stay on my pivot, I'm willing to invest in. And incrementally, online course, free 99. Okay. And I learned so much. I want to be able to have conversations that are intelligent and thought provoking with others as I learn more about interior decorating and design, right? It's fun to know different color palettes and Pantones and how to pick a pillow and what looks good next to each other. But it's also a great practice to always be learning and be in conversation with people who are smarter than you, who you can glean from, and who want to invest in you because of your enthusiasm and the investment that you made in taking whatever it is that you're interested in seriously. Okay. What else have I been doing over the last 2 years? Mm, I've been tidying up my circle, y'all. Oh, this one is hard to talk about. It really is. Because friendship, love, family, authenticity, integrity, letting go, and being truthful with yourself about having your needs met. I felt like there were a lot of modifying cliffhangers and run on sentences, but stick with me. Friendship is a muscle that I'm often thinking about building and actively building, traveling, hosting, listening, pouring, receiving, still working on that, but receiving. And one of the things that I truly have been working through as I think about my circle is, who am I when I am not pouring into others? And not being offended when people don't need me the way they once did, being honest and recognizing when something has likely been a trauma bond or there's been some level of dependency formed on how a relationship once existed. There are seasons, there are lifetimes, and there are moments. And some moments, every moment is fleeting, right? But we hope that in healthy relationship, that memories are made and there's continuity and consistency, longevity, all the ease, okay? And at this life stage, I've really come to terms with the fact that everyone can't go, everybody doesn't want to go, and that I'm not for everybody, and that everyone is not for me, right? Because we have choice and free will, and it is important to actively be choosing so that you have say in what is happening in your life, and life is not just happening to you. I think that is one of the ways that I can really describe what I hope to create this time around on this show. Us being in community together and happening to life, right? Because life will be. Friendships, some of them last a lifetime. And there are moments where you have to sit with yourself and that other person and be clear about where the friendship is going. Sometimes you don't always get that conversation. And personally, God has been keeping me close to some people, and there has been distance created with others. And I've had to decide how I want to show up. Am I just going to continue to show up for the birthday parties and the baby showers and the weddings, or listening? Do I feel comfortable reaching out and asking for anything, prayer, or letting people know where I'm at or what I'm up to? And then using that information, computing, and being like, ah, and being okay with necessary endings and being emotionally regulated when necessary endings don't happen on my terms. Can we talk about it? You want to talk, you want to stay here? You want to On the previous episode, which was like the final stop on the Get My Life tour, I had mentioned something, and to me it was quite jarring when I heard it back. And I was like, you said something there. And I realized that this is something I need to be more mindful of saying and practicing consciously in checking in, when the subconscious kind of shows up. And that's the idea and reality of being hard to get rid of. I've had this saying ingrained in my psyche and the action of it too, okay? Why am I laughing? Why is this funny to me? Because it's real. You feel me? And we got to be honest with where we are, who we are, and the experiences we've had, right? This is why I'm doing this. Because sometimes you will be burnt, dragged, okay? Burnt while being dragged when you don't know how to let go. And while others can play a part in it, you have to be responsible for what you've held on to for too long. And so when I think about this behavior of being hard to get rid of, part of that is on me. And it's not funny. I can laugh about it now because I'm like, oh, there are things that I really need to let go of. But that's the premise, letting go. I am someone who has learned to keep fighting, to keep trying, keep calling, send that text message. I have people's calendars. I have people's birthdays on my calendar, their kids' birthday, their mama birthday, anniversaries, death anniversaries, life moments, physically on my calendar, on my phone. I did not buy a calendar this year, a paper calendar, which was surprising. But I was like, okay, I don't have anywhere to put it or hang it up, or I don't want to hang it, so I didn't buy one. But I have these reoccurring events. And I've learned that in having some of these reoccurring events on my calendar, it creates a reoccurrence of me inching my way into people's lives and practicing this unnecessary relevance that isn't valued. And so that once a year check in, showing up, saying yes, investing my money in traveling to places where I may not be as welcomed or aren't really being, it ain't gonna make a difference, okay, if I'm there or not. Let me just say it that way. Because everything is not about me either. And I understand that. But I was trying to be nice and, not nice. I'm not nice. I'm kind. I'm working on that too. But you just gotta let go, okay? Stop being hard to get rid of is one of the life lessons that I have learned over the last 2 years in summation. And I'm putting that into practice. Given the information that I have present day with people, if some people don't hear from me, they should know why. And I have to really stand in that because I value clarity. I value truth. And those things together equal transparency for me. And that transparency makes room for me to be who I am authentically, right? I don't need to over explain. I don't need to overextend myself. And so I'm not. And I'm learning that every day, putting it into practice. Okay, the sniffles are getting the best of me, y'all. Pardon me. Oh. And so, you know what? I'm going to end on a positive. Well, that point, I should say. One of the things that I wrote here is that when I think about friendships, relationships in general, right? Because friendships are relationships too. I'm coming to terms with the love in my life being a reflection of how I perceive my self-worth and how I love and respect myself. I got a lot of notes. I have a lot of notes, but that right there brings me to my next point, and it's about self-love. Self-love, worth, esteem, faith, they go hand in hand. And truthfully speaking, I've had some moments where I've had to be called in and evaluate what I think about myself, what I say to myself, the stories that I tell, and being mindful of how I show up based on how and what I think about myself. I've had some highs and I have had some moments that I'm just like, I was there. I was there. And I'm here now. Okay. But doing the little things, not just the cosmetic, not just the material, but sitting in silence with myself, okay? Hair undone, no makeup, no nails, like nothing, okay? Braless, naked, fully clothed, in rooms where I'm not, comfortable, in instances where I'm taking center stage and people believe me, right? What do you do with that, right? You come to terms with who you are authentically, right? Not shrinking, not changing your voice, inflecting, but not code switching, you know, being quirky and being okay with that. I have a ton of corny jokes, pickup lines that I use on family and friends, and all the things. And sometimes I surprise people. People tell me, "Oh, you're mysterious," and da-da-da. I'm like, "Okay, well, this is who I am," right? And so, really owning all of who I am, parts of me that run deep like a well when I'm in deep meditation, prayer, and worship, and bringing that wherever it is that I am, owning mistakes, being accountable for what I do, what I say, how I do it, how I say it to myself and to others, right? You're probably like, what? How does this tie into self-worth, right? Because worth is who we think we are and what we deserve. That's how I'm defining it right now in this moment, okay? It's what we see our self as being worthy of based on who we believe we are, and then acting in a way so that we can receive, right? And having standards and values that are all aligned and showing up in that and living in it, okay? And I've been working on my self-worth, okay? I don't think that it has been like below zero. But there are moments where I'm like, oh, girl, who do you think you are? Okay. And then also keeping that same energy with other people. Who do you think I am? Or people say, oh, you think, no, it's more of a knowing, right? And that applies across the board. Sometimes you got to get into being a surprise to other people, okay? It's the gift that they may need to come to terms with who they are and to just allow yourself to be. Practice being. Y'all probably like, wow, she's talking with her hands. She's doing a lot. I am. I am. I've realized that I am a lot. And if that is too much for some people, I'm not trying to figure out how I can package it down and deliver it to them. It is what it is. Okay. And that's all I can be. It's Lydia T. Blanco. Okay. So I want to talk about practices. I talked about emotional regulation, radical acceptance, and partnering with a suite of professionals to really be on my mark, check in with myself, and get the tools that I need to be here, all around me, my feet on the ground, and with my heart and mind and actions aligned with where I am physically standing, okay, and where I'm at in my life stage. Go to therapy if you can, if that resource is available to you. I'm not judging you if you aren't in therapy, but I'm telling you, God and therapy will change your life. Okay. There are so many resources that have become available, I want to say, all over the world since the pandemic. And I don't say it that way to minimize its impact on people's lives, but sometimes I get tired of saying the word. But there are so many available resources, and investing in therapy is important. I have gone without nails, hair, fast food in the form of, like, I guess, fast food in restaurants, and so much so that I can have the money to invest in therapy. You know, Eric Thomas has asked people, how bad do you want it? Do you want it more than you want to breathe? And I have wanted my healing more than my next breath at times, because I felt like I was holding it for so long and I was underwater. It is not enough to be reliant on family and friends and ask them to bear all of your truths and experiences and show up for you in that way, when there are people who are qualified to help you in ways that can unlock and help you explore parts of yourself that you may not be privy to in this current state, whatever that may be. So I say that without judgment. Consider the things that you can trade off so that you can invest, and do your research. Maybe this is your sign. Maybe a friend has sent you a link or 30. Invest. We all need someone to talk to. We really do. And holding it in is not healing. All right. Positive self-talk is a very real thing. Sometimes you have to literally rebuke negative thoughts and memories. Okay. Now, I know they're a part of our experience, but it's time to tell yourself a new story, and it is critical to your well-being to speak life over yourself. Life rests in the power of our tongue, and so does death. It's so interesting because I've been thinking about some of the things that I tell myself, and I remember Mel Wyman saying, give yourself a high five in the morning. And I was like, let me just try it, because I like Mel. Hi, Mel. Want to be on podcast? Okay, great. But it was so like, okay, you know, sometimes I just try a little fist bump. Other times I just wave or wink. You know, I like practicing my wink. Is that my winking guy? Hold on. Oh, yeah, that's it. No, I think it's this one. Okay. But you have to be mindful of the stories that you tell yourself, because what you tell yourself is what really takes form. And it is what you begin to go around and tell other people. And if you're pitching and selling a story that wreaks havoc on your life, who you're called to be, and where and who it is that you truly want to be and become, you got to be mindful of what you're saying. I love affirmation albums. I've shared before Tony Jones as one of my favorite affirmation artists who has albums, and there are others. There are so many different platforms where people are helping you with the language. Biggest affirmation book in the world, the Bible. Hello, somebody. Open that book. And just really speak life over yourself, okay? I am wealthy. I deserve the love in my life. I'm on my way. I love myself. I'm generous. I'm faithful with what I have. I'm grateful for today. I'm already winning. I've made it this far. Whatever it is that you need to tell yourself, you got to speak those things as if they're on the way. Okay, gratitude. Because you knew I was going to talk about practicing gratitude. As hard as it is, as many reminders that I need. You have to practice gratitude. What are you thankful for? What do you have? Okay, I give thanks for my plants blooming around my apartment. I talk to them. You may or may not know, but I've named my plants things that I want more of in my life. And I'm grateful for that, right? Just that mindset. I'm thankful for being more self regulated, emotionally regulated, mentally regulated, okay? What are you practicing gratitude for? What is the quote? What you appreciate appreciates. When we think about the value that we place on things in our investment, being that gratitude, what you have will appreciate in value and increase. I've often talked about ease and increase, but I feel like gratitude is one of the very things that creates ease. When you're walking around disgruntled, you got an attitude like something is up there all the time. No wonder why you're mean. No wonder why you don't have what you say you want or what you think is yours or what you work so hard for. Where's your gratitude? Where's your thankfulness? You got something to be grateful for. Please don't tell me you don't. Please. There are people who are grateful for waking up another day in the worst conditions and circumstances known to mankind, who say thank you. One of the ways that I practice gratitude daily is by saying thank you. Before my feet hit the ground, I say thank you. New day, more breath, more life, options, resources, and opportunity to get it right here, and all around you. I've said a lot. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Extend the same grace you extend to whomever X amount of times to yourself. Be honest about where you are, right? But back to my former point, without telling the same story repeatedly, right? Create a new story with integrity. How about, let's keep it journalistic here because I'm a journalist. Create a new headline for yourself daily. What is your headline for today? Someone may interpret that as their motto, but create a headline for what you want your day to be. Okay. All right. I've said a lot, but I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for this platform and for life being exactly what it needs to be at this moment for me, for you. And I just went ahead and opened the app. And I'm going to leave you with this. And it is a song that I have on a replay right now. Listen to it daily, some days, multiple times a day. And it really comes from scripture from Matthew 6, I think between 25 and 34. And Jordan G. Welsh has sung it. The title of her song is How Much More. I love the title. I also love the scripture it derives from, right? But Her song says, if he dresses the lilies in beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? Right? And I remember around this time last year, okay, I was thinking about, where do I want to be? What can I afford? Where am I going to go? Here, there. And a soror of mine, close friend, reminded me of this scripture. And I'm here now, Matthew 6, and like the headline is, do not worry. So you know what? I'm going to make that my headline for the day. Do not worry. And when I think about how much more, I'm going to Matthew 6:28. And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow? They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry. I wish I could cue Jordan G. Welsh because she sings so beautifully. And I sound good in the confines of my own home and car and a cappella with my sister. But how much more if he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor? How much more will he clothe you? Do not worry. Life will be. Life will be. Peace, y'all.